Hello everyone, this is my stats and extracurriculars video as you all have requested. And if you're completely new here, I had posted a college decision reaction video, and I guess like the big universities, the most prestigious universities that I got into was USC, UCLA, UC Berkeley, Cornell, UC San Diego. This video is just going to be talking about my stats, my GPA, my ACT, SAT scores, my AP scores, and my IB scores. And also about my extracurriculars, all the ones I put on my Common App, and also everything I put on my UC application. And I'll also be talking about something at the end and some kind of practical advice, something to take away from this video in terms of writing your own college application, because I assume are you watching this video, you probably want to get into really good college too, and I just want to give my advice on that. But anyways, here is my stats and extracurriculars video. So for my GPA, I had a 4.0 unweighted GPA and a 4.68 weighted GPA. For my 9th grade courses, what I did, it was COVID years, so things might be a little different. I took Honors English, I took Korean Speakers 1, which is just Korean, but for Korean people like me. I took regular Algebras 2, I took Honors Bio, and I took AP Human Geography. For 10th grade, I took 3 APs, AP Bio, AP Physics 1, and AP Government. Usually AP Government is taken like senior year, but for the specific program that I was in, they just had us take it sophomore year, and it worked out. I also took Honors English, Korean Speakers 2, and Honors Pre-Calc. For 11th grade, I had a lot of stat classes, and this is the actual period of time where I actually did my IB diploma program. So for further reference, HL is basically the same as AP, and SL is the same thing as Honors. One of the classes was TOK, Theory of Knowledge, which is basically a philosophy class, and it's a requirement for the IB program. I took HL Korean, which is like AP Korean. I took HL English, which is like the equivalent of AP Lit, and HL Chemistry, which is like, AP Chemistry. I took SL World Religions. I took HL History of the Americas, and this is like if APUSH was mainly focused on the modern history. And then I took HL Math Year 1, which is the equivalent of Calc BC. The IB classes are for the most part stretched over 2 years, so I took pretty similar classes. But in my senior year, I actually switched from chemistry to biology year 2, which talks about like mainly anatomy and physiology, plant biology, those kinds of things. I also took TOK in 12th grade again. I took HL Math Year 2, which is kind of like other subjects like complex numbers, linear algebra, multivariable calculus, touches on that. It's based off the IB curriculum. I took HL Korean Year 2 again, and I took HL English AP Lit again. As for my test scores, I tested in both the SAT and ACT, but I only submitted my ACT. But I'll just give both anyway. My SAT score super score was a 1490. I got a perfect score 800 on the math section, and I got a 690 on the reading and writing section. As for the ACT, I got a 35 on the English section, a 35 on the science section, a 35 on the math section, and a 31 on the English section, and that totaled to a 34. As for my AP scores, I took AP Human Geography, which I got a 5 in. I took AP Bio, I got a 5, AP Physics 1, I got a 4, AP Government, which is US government, I got a 5. I took AP Chemistry, I got a 4. I took AP Calc BC, and I got a 5 on that. I guess one thing worth noting is probably my IB diploma score. For those who are AP people, you can skip this section. But for my IB diploma cumulative score, I got 38. I got 2 out of 3 from my extended essay and TOK points. For HL Korean, I got a 5 in. For HL English Literature, I got a 6. For SL Biology this year, I got a 7. For HL History, I got a 5. For HL Math, Analysis and Approaches, by the way, I got a 6. Oh, and SL World Religions, I got a 7 in. Alright, now moving on to my extracurriculars. The extracurricular that I put first on my Common App activities list is speech and debate. I've been doing it for pretty much all years throughout high school and won a couple awards here and there from it. For my second extracurricular, I did Science Bowl, which is kind of like a science trivia competition where you answer questions and buzz in based on speed and accuracy. And I was the captain of the Science Bowl team for my junior and senior year, and I did it throughout my entire high school years from freshman through senior year. My third extracurricular, I did piano, and for piano, I was a part of this program/testing thing called the Certificate of Merit. It's only in California though, but basically you take tests to determine how, I guess, good you are at piano. And for me, I hit the highest level. I passed the highest level called advanced level, and I've been playing piano for also from 9th grade to 12th grade. As for my fourth extracurricular, I did a program called the USC Bugs Junior Program. And what it was, a summer research program at USC. I got to perform research under a faculty. And basically what I did was I researched a particular transcription factor in this epithelial mesenchymal transition pathway in head and neck cancer. And so what this was between my sophomore year and my junior year. For my fifth extracurricular, what I did was I was a part of the Cedars-Sinai CERM Spark Summer Program. And so this was in between my junior and senior year. So what I did was, it's a similar concept to Bugs Junior, but it focused on stem cells instead. So I worked under faculty and I researched the cornea, specifically the exosomes that these corneal cells secrete and its role in the regeneration of diabetic versus normal cornea. The sixth extracurricular I put was something that I volunteered for. I was both a worship helper and a certified sign language interpreter for Korean Sign Language. So I have a disability ministry in my church, and they participate in usual like Sunday worship sessions. And what I would do is how I help them, do the worship sessions, help them with Bible study, clean up, and things like that. And I was also, for certain fundraising concert events, I would also become the Korean Sign Language interpreter for people that were there. So that was my sixth section. Pretty much did it, I think, from sophomore through senior year. Yeah, I put between sophomore to senior year. The seventh activity I did was I was a remote teacher for English as a second language to Afghan refugees over Zoom. The way I was able to reach them was that in my church there was a mission going on, and they had a little school there where they taught, art, music, and English. And so what I did was I taught English over Zoom to these Afghan refugees actually currently living in Turkey. And I did this online from freshman year through senior year. The eighth extracurricular what I did was I was part of this handbell choir for a really long time as part of my church. And basically just ring bells and as part of a choir, and make some kind of song as a normal choir would. And I performed in a lot of venues such as the LA Music Center, as well as some homeless shelters and hospitals. And I did this pretty much from 9th grade to 12th grade, but it was pretty on and off. For my 9th activity, I was a graphic designer for my school's IB yearbook. And the reason why it's not just a yearbook is because the IB yearbook was part of our international baccalaureate cohort. And we just made a yearbook for that. And I was one of the graphic designers for making this yearbook. Personally, because I was like, I have the ability to do Photoshop. So I was like, okay, why not use it for something useful? I did it for the senior cohort, so when I was a junior, and also designed my own yearbook when I was a senior. And my last activity is I was like vice president of this board for organizing this Valley Youth Olympics. And what I did was basically as vice president, I led the pledge of participants, and I also organized a lot of the logistics for the event. I did it my junior year, but it wasn't much of a time commitment. So a note for these extracurriculars is that there's 10 slots usually on the Common App, but the UC has more slots, so I'll go more in depth about my extracurricular activities on the UC application. But there was 2 extra activities I put in because I had extra space. One of them was around, I believe, 10th grade when my grandfather actually had terminal cancer. What I did was I would, take over, and because my parents had to make regular hospital visits to my grandfather, I would have to, almost kind of take their position, do a lot of emotional support, and also just take care of a lot of the chores around the house. And believe it or not, that could count as an extracurricular. Another extracurricular that I put in, but I didn't include in the common application, was my quote-unquote non-profit called the Ginkgo Initiative, and what it was educating people more about Oriental medicine, as well as trying to dispel the myths around Oriental medicine. The reason why I didn't include it on the common application was because I wasn't really like personally invested in it, and it was more so a requirement for school because the IB has this thing called CAS project. Alright, now moving on to my awards. The first award I put was probably the most like proud thing I had was the actual Certificate of Merit advanced level passing, because it was the highest level of the the Certificate of Merit pathway. I just put that award on there because it pretty much took like actually 10 years of my entire life just to get. The second award I got was a Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition, and I was like, that sounds like a cool award to put, so I just put that on there. And I got it as a result of for being the vice president of the Youth Olympics. As for a third award / honor, what I did was I had a lot of volunteering hours put in. So what I did was I submitted my hours to this place called AmeriCourse, and they give the presidential Gold Volunteer Service Award. And so I had 2 awards, one for my junior year and one for my senior year. And so that's also what I put for my third category. For my fourth award, I put the fact that I won first place at the Satori Music Summer Festival. It was more of a regional competition, but I won first place in it. And I guess first place has a lot of weight, so I just put that award on there. The last award that I put on the Common App was this commendation for taking the PSAT. Basically, if you score in the top 3% of the PSAT, you get this national merit commendation. I guess it's nice to let the colleges know I was in part of this commendation program. Just something boost me a little. One extra award I put on the UC application, which was the AP Scholar with Distinction Award. Basically, I mean, if you're taking AP classes, you probably know what the AP Scholar Awards are. I just put the highest AP Scholar with Distinction Award on there. The reason why I didn't put that in the Common App was because pretty much everyone had it. And so that's pretty much all my stats and extracurriculars. Don't leave yet, because I do want to tell you something to take away from this video. As for extracurriculars, what I learned was that without some kind of essay or story to tell your extracurriculars, they're not really that useful. For that reason, I put my VKappa Youth Olympics vice president. Even though vice president is a pretty heavy title, I didn't really regard it very highly because I couldn't really talk more about it. So that actually leads me, don't do extracurriculars just for the sake of doing extracurriculars, pretty much. I tell this to a lot of people when they ask me for college advice, and people are like, oh, what team should I join? What club should I join? Which club or team looks the best? And I really think that if you don't have a personal investment, or if you don't have a reason for joining a club or extracurricular, other than the fact that we want to make it look good to colleges, then you shouldn't be joining it at all. But rather, each extracurricular on your application is meant to showcase, reveal a certain part of your character, and that's really what college admissions officers are looking for. Second, if you're not too far down the college admission cycle, I recommend doing extracurriculars that are really niche and unique. So for me, that was Korean Sign Language and this volunteering for disability ministry. Even though there were other people doing it, I saw this as more of a unique circumstance I was in. So that's why I put it a little bit higher up. And so what I recommend is to do extracurriculars that are unique to yourself, because it helps you stand out. Lastly, I want to talk about commitment to extracurriculars. Freshmen, if you are watching this, or 8th graders, if you're watching this, I recommend getting to an extracurricular as soon as possible and try to stick with it. You don't have to, you can still leave and experiment and try out with different extracurriculars and clubs, but it definitely looks better on an application if you committed it from 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th versus just joining an extracurricular, say 11th or 12th. The reason being so is because colleges see extracurriculars or joining clubs from 11th or 12th grade. They kind of see it as superficial, because it makes it look like, oh, I'm applying to colleges, therefore I must join these extracurriculars or clubs. That's not to say if you genuinely have an interest and you can explain your application in an activity that you joined junior or senior year, by all means go for it. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that you don't join extracurriculars just for the sake of putting extracurriculars on your college application. And you also want to show commitment, because that's actually something college admissions officers look out for a lot. And so yeah, that was my advice, stats, and extracurriculars video. I also did see in the comments about my Notion template because people really liked how organized I was with the colleges I was applying to, so stay tuned for that as well. But as for now, thank you so much for watching, and if you stayed to the very end and listened to me, I really appreciate that.